Hmm. Alright, so, hey yo, my fellow Rumble Maniacs. It's Rumble here, and, I want to do this little video, even though, like, I wasn't really planning on it originally, but after seeing a certain thing, I kind of wanted to sort of make a little random response video about, something that I saw. So, this video is going to be a bit of a response to a content creator by the name of Scott John. Um, They were talking, and the response thing is involving a hot take that I posted for them to, read and give their 2 cents on. Now, let me set the scene for you guys. So quite recently, Scott John posted a little thing over on Twitter about like, hey, I'm gonna be doing a little reaction type thing on stream. Give me your guys' DVD hot takes. And I was like, okay, I think I originally saw this actually because Spook and Jukes actually made a little reply, but I was like, okay, I'm down because I have some things on my mind. And basically, my little hot take was, I think that behavior, DVD, whatever you want to refer to them as, they should add a perkless game mode to the game where killers cannot have any perks or add-ons, and survivors cannot be able to use any perks or bring any items with them into the game. Um, Now, the response I would say that Scott had, it was not like it was not the stupidest thing that I've heard, but it was kind of like one of those moments where it was like, where it's kind of like, what, kind of like a moment. So yeah, like I said, like, hey, I think that should be a thing. And Scott basically was saying said something along the lines of, we basically have that. We basically have Chaos Shuffle for a thing like that, and also playing a Perkins game mode would be boring. Now, to me, I can kind of I can see I can maybe like see a little bit about some people not wanting to fully play on a mode that has no perks and everything like that. I mean, even though we have done that with the likes of like Lights Out, for example, but there's still a thing. But to say that we have that, but to say that having the perkless mode is basically like the equivalent of Chaos Shuffle, I have to completely disagree on that. Like I have to say, I kind of have to say, like what the fuck are you thinking about that for, Scott? Um, and I think I talked about this before in one of my past videos. But the way that I had the idea go is like this. Okay, so like I said, killers cannot have perks or add-ons, and survivors cannot bring items into the game or have perks themselves. Now, to make this a little bit more incentivizing per se, I would say that you would want to have the blood point incentive be somewhat, somewhat relatively high. Maybe somewhere along the lines of what the Blood Moon event was known to do, where it's like you have like you get like a shit ton of blood points, just for playing just for playing the event. To me, I think it should be something like that, or somewhere damn near close to it. About like having that much of blood point incentive. Now, as far as like in-game actions and stuff go, because I know because I know and I think everyone knows that there's always going to be chests roaming out and about and everything like that. Um, Items in chests have the possibility of having like having a bit more like rare type stuff, and maybe having like an add-on or two equipped to it. Because I think that way it would kind of encourage people to go around the map, looking for chests to open, maybe find like a nice little med kit or a decent toolbox, to use and stuff like that. Um, and if if you can survive with those items as far as survivors go, with those things that you find, then you can of course be able to keep not only like the base thing, but also be able to keep the add-ons that you get as well. You know, because I think that'd be like a nice little like trade-off thing per se. And the reason why I brought this up is because and it's been kind of like it's been kind of like an annoying thing that feels like it's been like an annoying ass thing that feels like a virus at this point that's just that's just infecting the whole community and maybe even then some. But like I've seen so many people bitching about like how they're playing against perks and not survivors. I see like a handful of killers saying like, oh, I'm playing against perks, not survivors. You know, if they didn't have this or have that, you know, they would have been they wouldn't be as good as they as they like to act out to be. Well, in my case, in my opinion, I think this would be like a way to kind of like put up or shut up for people who want to do that kind of thing. Because I've seen a lot of people do all kinds of crazy ass challenges. You know, like I've seen people do like no miller to Erie 1. I've seen people play with no perks until they hit Erie 1 and stuff like that. Like it'd be like a nice little thing to try at least once. Now, I'm not saying like they should pump out the game mode like as much as they do like Chaos Shuffle and 2v8, but I think like at least they should do like a thing where it's like like once a year they should bring out this mode just for people who want to try and play a game session on the DVD, no matter if it's killer or survivor. Have something to do that's gonna make things a little bit interesting. Because I think overall, whether you want to agree to whether you want to disagree or not, I think this would create a bit of an interesting little scenario for people who want to try and like get better at maybe like get better at the game without having to use perks. And like okay, like I'm playing like against like this killer. I'm going up again going up I'm going against them up in this map or whatever. Maybe then all that and then some. Now I'm not gonna say it's gonna be like the perfect thing, like 100%. But I think overall, it could be an interesting little step to at least try. So that way, people can be able to have like a normal-ish type of game mode, whether people want to use perks or not, and also have like those that'll be like okay, like I want to try my luck, maybe get better at playing Survivor, and I can be able to have like this like this boast, like this little boast of like oh I can be able to play this game without perks, you know. Now another thing I'm pretty sure people might kind of refer to having a no a perkless game mode would probably be something along the lines of like fucking lights out. And lights out is nowhere near as close to that because that's another gameplay that completely alters how things are. You have like very little maps to play around in. A lot of the maps are dark as fuck. You don't get a terrorist or the killer until they're around your ass. You don't see you can't really see scratch marks that much or whatever. And I just think like it's like lights out is its own little game mode that is not anywhere near like because basically with the perkless mode you can still have you can still have the ability of playing a normal 1v4 game, having various maps that's not that's gonna be darkened to fit the atmosphere or whatever. And I think that I think it's worth some I think it's something worth trying at least. Um, but yeah, that's just my little 2 cents about it. Like I think people should at least give it give this shot give this a try. And I think honestly behavior should try and implement this kind of mode at least once. And like I said, it doesn't have to be as as much. It doesn't have to be like as overly frequent as 2v8 or Chaos Shuffle. Just have like a random once a year mode, mode that has everyone being perkless. I mean, hell, fucking if Quiet Kills, because even though like I don't watch them all the time, but I've seen a lot of his stuff where it's like, oh, I'm gonna play as Perkless Trapper or Perkless, whatever, and then it's like, hey, I think that could be a mode that even he might be suited in trying. And like I said, again, this could be something for other people to try out as well, and maybe see if they can actually be as good as they like to claim to be, in terms of like like, oh, I'm a good survivor or a good killer that I don't need perks or I don't need add-ons, stuff like that. But anyway, that's all I got to really say. I don't expect like a response or anything like that from Scott or anyone. I doubt he'll fucking ever see this video, but I just want to kind of like share my 2 cents on it and everything, and just go from there. So, but yeah, thank y'all so much for watching / listening to my little rant and rave thing, and I'll see you all hopefully in the next video or live stream.